What's up, everybody? Tonight we're diving in this nostalgic five with the Fuji, talking tonight about the 1980 Philadelphia Phillies on the Heat Sports Radio Network with Tony Cotillo. Mike Fuji want to dive into the 1980 Phillies, the top five reasons why those Phils were the never say die attitude, the cardiac kids, whatever you want to call them. I was 8 years old, amazing. Philly sports that year, all four Philly sports teams went to the finals. The Phillies were the only team to win their respective league championship and the World Series. Top five reasons why the Phillies won the World Series. Number one, the catalyst, besides Michael Jack Schmidt winning the MVP that year. Peter Edward Rose. Signed in December of 78, played the 79 season. The Phils finished fourth overall, fourth place in the National League East. Following year, the Phils were predicted fourth in 1980. Number two, Michael Jack Schmidt winning the MVP. 48 home runs, most home runs of his career ever. Number three, Dallas Green at the helm. Dallas Green taking over in 1979 from Danny Ozark. Dallas was the head of the scouting department, and the players and Dallas Green really didn't get along. I mean, there was some animosity with that going back. Number four, you had veterans like Bob Boone, Greg Luzinski, couple other guys. Dallas knew the minor league system. I mean, he went to Chicago. He took all the great players after he left the Phillies in 1981. That year, 1980, he had Lonnie Smith playing left field over Greg Luzinski. Keith Moreland catching ahead of Bob Boone some games. Phillies brought up Bob Walk, who started game number one against the Kansas City Royals, and also they called up Marty Bystrom, who went 5-0 in September that year. Number four, probably the greatest NLCS of all time, but back then in 1980 it was only 5 games. Them and the Houston Astros just slugged it out. It was like a 12-round heavyweight fight going back and forth. And that last game, just Manny Trio nailing down the award with the triple. Pete Rose coming home, putting Bruce Bochy on his ass. And, it was great just seeing that. You had some Hall of Famers in there like Nolan Ryan, Pete Rose, Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt, a couple other guys just doing it big. I think Jose Cruz could have been a Hall of Famer, but that was a hell of a series. Number five, the Phils getting to the World Series and beating the Kansas City Royals 4-2. That was a back and forth battle. I mean, you had guys on Kansas City like George Brett, Willie Mays Aikens, Amos Otis, Darrell Porter, Larry Gore, Dan Quisenberry, the closer. I mean, it was a heavyweight fight, that series. The Phils, Tug McGraw striking out Willie Wilson for the final out, just ending all the ghosts of Philly's past, put to rest. Like I said, 8 years old, that just watching that and Tug winning it, bringing, the first Phillies World Series, to fruition. That Phillies team probably wasn't the best of that era, because if you go back and really look at, the teams of the 70s, I mean, they lost against the Dodgers, they lost against the Reds. Those teams are probably better assembled as far as talent, but, that 80 team was aging. Bob Boone was getting older, Greg Luzinski, Larry Boa. I mean, Carl wasn't old, but, you also had guys like Ron Reed, Tug McGraw in the bullpen, Kevin Saucier, Warren Brewstar, Dickie Knowles, who the famous throw at George Brett, and then a big argument, Jim Fry, the Royals manager, coming out, and Pete Rose arguing, almost ready to go at it, which was great on a Saturday afternoon. Just remember it. Tony Kubek and Joe Garagiola calling it. Actually, I believe Vince Scully was calling it with Joe Garagiola and Tony Kubek. But just an amazing year, 1980. That team just never died. I just wanted to give you a heads up. I'd been away a couple weeks. I did the 86, 87 Flyers a couple years ago. But tune in. Going to be trying to start this back up weekly or bi-weekly. If anybody has any questions, shoot me an email at MikeFuji33.com. Trying to do some old nostalgic teams, maybe, some local players like Reggie Jackson, maybe do Dave Zinkoff, anybody local that came out of Philly. But tune in again on Heat Sports Radio, Mike Fuji. Check it out. I'm going to be doing more of this. Everybody have a good week, a good night. Stay safe. God bless.